Very well said. Do I need to talk anymore? Like, well, she's pretty much covered all the issues that personally I want to be changed as well. I mean, we are best friends. We have organized things together. We have the same views. I am Melina Bowie, and I just graduated IT, like Alicia over here. We will both be attending UW-Madison. I will be pre-med, and she will be pre-law. Hopefully a future Latina senator of Wisconsin. Hint, hint.
For local students, trying to tell him that we're concerned in his own district. So that's something we're not seeing action for our own representatives. So when I see people running for positions, I do ask them, this is really important to us, and it is important to other youth. You don't see a lot of the action, especially kids our age, but it's there. Especially with walkouts, you see how many students leave the school and are in support of it. However, we are still young and not many students have the guts to really stand up and say, hey, I'm gonna go talk to my representative, I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna email their office and tell them, hey, I am worried. So what I'm asking representatives is exactly what I said, the three main things that I want, and I hope that in November we'll see some change. We'll see new people who are going to represent us, and then I think from there we'll see if they really are listening to our voices, but also everyone else in the room's voices.
I am asking for the same things, and I'm also asking for our representatives to listen to us. Like Alicia was saying with our youth voices, we are going to be heard loud and clear. And we have been heard with the March for Our Lives movement, primarily run by students, especially the Parkland students down in Florida. They're on like this bus tour right now for our March for Our Lives movement, and it's absolutely amazing to see that happen. And just to think, like, if they can do that, what else can we do? This is our future. America is our future. Our representatives need to listen to us and our concerns, because you know how slow government actions actually happen. It happens like, the effects really happen until like 10, 20 years later, and that's us. That's when we're adults. So I'm asking our representatives to listen to the youth, please.
Yeah, I completely agree with these two. I know from personal experience that it takes a lot for representatives to actually listen to us. So with these movements, they've actually started to listen to us, but not as much as I think we actually want. So I just think that we just need to keep going forward and pushing through, because they will eventually have to listen to us.
Thank you. Now we're going to start with Delaney this time. You two are starting to cheat. She's giving you all the answers to start off. But I think one of the things that I'm at an age where it's difficult to relate to your age. I mean, I have daughters that are freshmen, they're Delaney's age, and I love dad jokes and I get to pick on them, but as far as what it's like to be a teenager in this day and age, and then what you're seeing from a lot of these students, because what we hear in event after event from a number of students in the last school shooting, it was tragic to hear students say, I'm not even surprised about this anymore. We knew who it was going to be, we knew it was going to happen, we knew it was a matter of time. So in the situation that you're in now with students, when you have concerns about your safety at school, can you walk us through the process that you would have to be able to alert the administration to that? And how do you feel that's functioning now? Sure. Like if you had a student that you were worried about, or you heard someone make a specific threat, or just had a feeling that something happened and you needed to go to a teacher or administrator about, what's your current process? And then how do you feel about how that process is functioning now?
We actually do have a system where it is an anonymous alert, so you can contact the school, and it's anonymous, so they don't know who sent it. They just know the kind of alert and who it's about. But if it's more important, you could actually just go to the administration. But I guess, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's very vague. I'm not sure. It's not completely the best operation to actually track down what's going on. But there is something there, but I think it could be improved.
Okay, I guess we'll go harder. Do we have a system in place for IT? I believe
Our system at Indian Trail is, like they said, it's very vague. When we've gone to when we've gone to school board meetings, last time I checked, we didn't really have a safety policy, which I don't know if many of you know that. The school board did reveal, I don't think they really meant to, but KUSD doesn't have a safety policy. So if an event, a tragic event like a mass shooting did occur, they don't have a policy in place to handle that situation. So I think right now, the school board is trying to get that. I think after we talk to them, they're definitely in that works, but right now there's not even a set policy, which is frightening as it is, especially since these horrific acts have been happening for years. It's not like it's just coming up in 2017-18. This has been happening for years, and we still don't have a policy. So there's no policy. As in, if you're going to go to administration, you would go straight to the principal, and the first thing they would do is contact the police. Indian Trail has been threatened more than once, and the system was you went to the principal, they contacted the police, and our school was shut down. But it was very hectic. The system was very hectic, and you can tell they really didn't know what to do in that situation, which is a problem because now it comes to student safety, and you don't have a set policy, and you don't know exactly what you need to do, and that's putting our lives at risk.
And I believe, I was talking to some teachers about it after like school was out and all that, and we did receive funding to help prevent like mass shootings in schools and like for kids' safety. I believe they're talking about implementing metal detectors when you walk in, which personally as a student, I think that makes the school seem more barbaric and less of like an institution for learning. It's more focused on like, hey, you have a gun, you're a student, like, let's make sure that you don't have a gun. So that's one. I think they're also pitching the idea of having more authorized personnel on, like, in the school. I believe IT already has one who is like, who was in the CIA whatnot, who is trained and does hold a carry-on weapon just in case something like that happens. And I believe they're going to have more to be monitoring around.
Thank you. You brought up funding at Kenosha. Kenosha Unified School District was, I believe, the first school system in the state to receive the state grant for school safety, and it's about $900,000 from the state of Wisconsin to improve school safety. Given the system we have in place, which doesn't seem to be inspiring any confidence, what would be the first thing you would ask them to invest in that would actually make you feel safer in school?
Personally, I don't believe in arming teachers because I think adding more guns doesn't solve the problem of guns. But I think having trained personnel in the school, I think would be a better option. People who are trained, retired police officers. I think having a couple more of those instead of, Indian Trail only has one, and we're a school of like 2,000. So I think having a couple more would make me feel safer. But again, I would only feel safe if there was maybe 2 more, and if those were, of course, concealed weapons and they were trained.
I do agree with that. With my school, we don't have quite as many students, but I do believe we have one officer that is there every day. Instead of investing, I would just rather have our government improve laws instead of having, you know, bulletproof windows or whatever the new stuff that is coming out. I'd rather just have safer laws that would prevent this stuff from happening instead of metal detectors that would turn our school more into like a jail.
So as you progress from public school to university, and one of the issues that a lot of people don't realize about gun deaths in the state of Wisconsin is almost 72% of the gun deaths in the state aren't from homicides or robberies or violent crime, they're actually from suicides. So for students who can experience depression the same way as anyone else, talk about the safety aspect of that. But in terms of care, when you have issues, rather than allowing them to fester or grow into other things, do you feel like you have a system at school where even if it's not about public safety, that you can speak to someone, access to a counselor? Do you feel that improving those services would go a long way towards making you feel safer as well?
Oh yes, for sure. Like I said before, I'm all for universal health care. So I feel like if the government subsidized more programs in order to help with mental health issues rather than making it such a social stigma, it's like so taboo to have a mental illness, but it runs through every single one of us. We all go through different mental illnesses throughout our lifetime because it just gets harder and harder to like survive in this world, especially with the exposure to social media and with the administration like going off right now and our government not listening to us and people just aren't listening to us. I feel like there should definitely be more money put towards like counseling in high schools, middle schools. I think we would start as early as middle school because that's where like lots of signs of depression stem from, because it's when kids are going through changes, going through puberty, like, oh, am I pretty enough? Am I bulky enough? Like, do I look good enough? And if we are able to teach children at a young age, like, it's okay to get help. It's okay to talk to someone, and that person doesn't have to be your parents or someone super close, then I think that would really help with the whole mental illness issue that carries on through high school, and then especially in college, there's so much stress of like, oh, I need to be successful, like, I'm paying to go to college, like, I'm here, I need to be successful. Like, if we put on more like on-campus psychiatrists, psychologists, maybe different programs where people can like talk to other people more, communicate more of their issues and how they feel, I think that would be the much better solution in order to get rid of the mental health issue that has been stemming throughout the entire nation throughout these past few years.
I completely agree. Today it is, I don't know, it's thought to be wrong to have a mental illness, and I think that definitely prevents a lot of people from seeking help because they are afraid that it'll damage themselves and make them seem different. So I think it'd be really important to just start thinking of having a mental illness as more of something you can't really prevent. It's who you are, and you need help. And I think that would be a very large step for us right now.
I think it's also important to, again, acknowledge that mental illness is a thing, but also acknowledge that let's see how I can word it. Especially throughout this whole process with school shootings, I think a lot of people are putting the blame for mental illness on the wrong people. With these mass shooters, a lot of people are saying, well, it's your fault that you weren't being nice to them. You noticed that they were quiet, and it's the student body's fault that you didn't reach out and seek them out. That's kind of like the whole stigma and the backlash that we got when we had to walk out. They said walk up. Instead of walking out, why don't you walk up to, the quiet kid, the kid that you think that you would label as a school shooter. And I think that is extremely dangerous. I think to tell students that you need to just seek someone because you think that they could be a school shooter or someone that could harm us, I think is putting mental health in the wrong place. Now you're making someone else's mental health issue a student body issue, and none of that is connected at all. And you're putting it on other students with that. That's not their right to be. That's not what to be concerned about. I think mental illness is being put on others when that's not what it's supposed to be, and I think that really bothers me.
So, thank you. You guys are kind of at the beginning as far as your activism. secure as you free, get in front of a group of people and speaking or leading a rally. For the students you go to school with, the ones that don't necessarily speak out, the ones that we won't hear from this evening, for these candidates won't hear from, for how many of those students do you think this feeling that they're growing up with is going to be something that kind of guides their political thinking and the way that they approach government throughout the rest of their lives? Because one thing that's come from this debate, especially in 2018, has been that you shouldn't be speaking out. And that people are saying directly they don't want to hear from young people, they don't want to hear from students, you should just be in class. You spoke about the reaction to mental health, and it's the student's fault. These kids must be bullied or picked on. How has that reaction been? I mean, what's the feeling you get when you hear something like that, and how do you plan to counter that? Because old enough to vote, will soon be old enough to vote. How do you feel like that's influenced you going forward?
I think like youth activism has absolutely increased, especially within this last year. And I think the guns and the gun issue kind of really sparked that. I know before, me and Melina had dabbled in it a little bit with what we believed in for the Kenosha dress code, but I think youth as a general kind of, like you said, has that stigma that I'm only 17 or I'm only 18 or younger, and it doesn't matter. Let me listen to the adults and they'll figure it out. Where I don't have a place to be up here and speaking in front of you guys because my opinion is invalid. That is the thinking that the youth has, and it's absolutely what the youth has. I think it's changing, and I think when we do stuff like this and you see other youth do stuff like this, encourage them to do more, because there's other kids that look at us and they're saying, hey, they organize this, or hey, like they're standing up there and they're actually speaking in front of adults and their opinion isn't being put down and they're actually listening. That speaks volume to the youth, and it makes them want to be more involved. It absolutely wants to make them more involved. So I think having support from adults will increase youth participation in our democracy, which I think is really vital to these issues that are affecting us, because we need them to vote. Especially kids our age and kids in college, we don't vote a lot. We already know we vote the least out of everybody. And I hope that'll increase. But I think what I would ask is for adults to support us and to tell other youth, like, look at these kids, or don't look at these kids, but know that your opinion is valid, whether it agrees with us or not, and do something and say something. And I think if that happens, we're gonna see more participation, more voting, and then hopefully these issues that we're passionate about and that the youth is too scared to talk about will change in our government.
What she said, but you can definitely see a huge shift in the movement of us youngins. And I kind of owe some of that to the 2016 election with our man Bernie Sanders. He definitely, I love Bernie, so I donated over $300 to his campaign and I was 15 years old. But anyways, like, you definitely saw like a huge shift with all the youngins coming out to like vote for him in the primaries. In Wisconsin, we did vote Bernie for the primaries. Woo! Go Wisconsin. But then you kind of saw it like dissipate once it was just Hillary versus Trump. But now you see it spike up again. And honestly, like, I hate saying this, but like, I think I have to thank Trump for this. Like, this is the only positive thing that I think has come from his running, his administration, is that he has gotten people to actually listen to and see what's going on right now. And he's so sensationalized, like he's all over the media, and it makes us kids listen to him and look at him. And we see like the atrocities that are happening right now with the whole separation of families and whatnot. Like, it's all over Twitter because this man, all he does is tweet and golf. Does he do anything? I don't know. But that's what we see. That's what we notice. So that's like and I feel like people fail to realize how exposed we are to the issues and how somewhat educated we are on the issues, because once we see that and we see how crazy that is, we're like, hey, that can't be real. So then we search it up, because at our fingertips we have all the information that we would ever want and need. It's easy for us to be informed, and I think you see that huge shift going on right now, and especially with like people like Alicia here organizing events and all that. Like, we're not gonna shut up, we're just gonna keep going. Like I said, this is our future, and I'm not gonna be shut up by a bunch of old people who are gonna die off in the next 20 years. Like, come on. I'm talking to you, Orrin Hatch. But anyways, I'm just saying, like, we've become more and more outspoken, and we're just not gonna be quiet. This concerns us, especially with like Bernie's issues on, you know, college and having more affordable education. This affects us, and we know that it affects us. Yeah, we have this little stigma like, oh yeah, we don't care, like all we want to do is smoke weed, go out, whatever, party, have fun. But I mean, maybe sometimes, but majority of the time, we care about our country. We want to be proud to be American. We want to say that we are proud to be American. And we want our country to stand for what it's supposed to stand for. The land of opportunity, the land of new beginnings, the land of freedom and rights. And when adults tell us like, hey, yeah, no, like you don't matter or whatever, you're stripping away our rights that we deserve to have. So, go youth.
To that, I think that adults sometimes forget that, I mean, like, it's our future too. I mean, this involves us, especially what's going on now. These are school shootings where we go every day. So obviously we hear about this stuff and we obviously get nervous. We don't just process information and then forget about it. No, we think about it. We wonder when it will happen and if it will have happened to us. And I personally don't like that. So standing up for myself has really helped me individually. But I mean, I think that if I start standing up for myself, then my peers will start following. And soon our representatives will have to listen to us, because there will be just this big wave of their soon-to-be voters just calling in and saying, hey, we're disappointed. So, yeah, I'm proud of how people my age are doing right now. So, yeah.
So it wasn't meant to be a downer to start the evening. We also want to make it clear that we're here meeting because of the things we care about. We're meeting because of the people we love. We're here meeting because of the concerns that we have for our community and for our country. And we want everyone to have a good time. We want everyone to know each other and network and get the energy that we take from being around like-minded people. The things that we fight for do have lives at stake. And when you talk about school safety and school shootings, you know, I have twin daughters that go to Indian Trail. They're freshmen. And so they go to school with two of these young ladies up here on the stage, or did until this past June. And the front entrance to that school, the common area, also leads into their cafeteria. And so their assigned seating, or the place that they had to eat lunch every day, was by the front door. So it was school shooting on the news, sit by the front door. School shooting on the news, sit by the front door. So you talk about that lack of a plan, that feeling of being unsafe. That horrible feeling as a parent to have to push your child out the door every day to somewhere that you know they're terrified to go is not something that we can allow. We can feel safe and secure and happy in our camaraderie here and in the efforts that we want to make for our society. But just please remember that for a number of us, for an entire generation, we have people that have to get up and be scared to go to the place that a lot of us felt good to go every day. And we need to get that back for the generation that comes after them, and I'm glad you're working for it. So I think I've eaten through our time, but I want to thank all three of you very much for attending this evening, and please give these three brave young ladies a